Hi, everybody. This is Jim Saffron with Pure Vintage Media, and welcome to our podcast interview. Recently, we hooked up with Morgan Fisher from his adopted hometown of the last 40 years, Tokyo, Japan. Now, Morgan is best known for the time that he spent with Mott the Hoople as their keyboard player, but he's done a whole lot more. And in this interview, we're going to find out what this Renaissance man has been up to for the last 50 years. So please join me in welcoming Morgan Fisher. Welcome to Pure Vintage Media, everybody. This is Jim Saffron, and we have a very special guest tonight. Actually, this morning for Morgan. This is Morgan Fisher. Wow, I
Hi.
really want to, after reading your background, I want to call you the Renaissance man. It's more than just playing with Mott the Hoople and Queen. Man, you've done a lot of stuff, my friend.
We'll never get it all covered in this one chat. We need
I
more.
know that. Like I said, I tried to condense as much as I could, and wow, I enjoy doing these interviews because you're a band that I only got to see Mott the Hoople live once. Growing up in Los Angeles, you guys played the Santa Monica Civic. I think it was
Hmm.
1974, and
Mm.
unfortunately, that was it. That was the only time I got to see you guys, but it was a wonderful show. You were definitely a live band. Not all bands can pull off the excitement that they do on records. And I've experienced that many times coming out of a concert saying, "Well, that really wasn't that good." And but you
Oh
guys were
well,
just
I wasn't an original member, as you may know. Um,
correct.
for their first couple of years, first four albums, they were a hugely successful live band, and people just flocked to see them, and they built up a big audience really quickly. But somehow they could never really sell records. They couldn't quite capture the live energy in the studio. So David Bowie came along and said, well, why don't we just try another approach? Let's make a slightly new kind of music that'll sell big. And he did. And so
Yeah,
with the added live power, we now had recording power too. And that's when I stepped in at a very good time.
yeah, you did, and but that's one of the anthems for Mott the Hoople. Obviously, that's pretty well known, and everybody likes to sing along to that. But there were so many. As I went back and did listen to all the albums that you were actually on two albums, I believe. You were on the Hoople, and you were on the live album. And did I
Right.
miss any? It was just those two until the name changed and the original group.
That's right. And a couple of singles. Yeah.
Right. So I went back and I didn't realize there was a remaster of the live album with another 13 tracks or so. But
Yeah.
I'd almost forgotten all the great songs. Walking with the Mountain. I mean, there were just so many that were. I can't believe I'd forgotten all those. The one you hear on the radio all the time is All the Young Dudes, and but you guys had a real long discography of music when you were with the band, when you weren't with the band, when you were with the band and they renamed themselves Mott, and you guys kind of renamed, I guess you reformed under British Lions. But I was looking at your history. You go back to kind of like the late 60s, early 70s. I was listening to the Love Affair band, and that's an interesting story. If you want to tell that, you were with the band and I guess you had to go back to school.
Yeah. I joined the band in 66 when they were
Wow.
called the Soul Survivors. And we were a pure soul band, Stax, Motown. And
Yeah.
we made our first record in 67 with Decca Records, and it was a song by the Rolling Stones, which Decca wanted us to cover. So we thought, okay, it's a chance to make a record, and we recorded it. It didn't sell anything. I think it was the wrong song, but there you go. But we were now, as far as I was concerned, professional. So I said to my mother, who is a teacher, as my father was too, I want to leave school and really go professional full time. And they said, no, no, you should graduate from high school and then you can do what you want. Pass all the exams, and then the classic phrase, you'll have something you can fall back on. Well, in the 57 years since then, I've never fallen back. So much for that. But I know their intentions were right. So I was a good boy and I said, okay, there's only 8 months to go. I'll finish school. So I left the band and they got somebody else in. And what do you know? During that 8 months, they had a number one hit, Everlasting Love. But
Right.
was I sick? Was I sick or not? And I wasn't sure about the agreement, like whether I was guaranteed to come back to the band after I left school. So I wrote them a letter, wrote letters in those days, and I was
Yeah.
quite shy to ask, but I just wrote a letter saying, well, I'm out of school now, I'm available. And the miracle happened was they wrote back and said, well, we don't actually get on with the new guy, so why don't you come back to the band? And
Sweet.
so overnight, I was a pop star. So it was almost worth leaving and then coming back.
So I was listening to the second album today, and you guys changed. You were kind of the first album reminded me of a lot of like great pop songs coming out of the UK that made it to was it top of the charts and all
Yep.
those programs. But the second album, it's kind of like you embrace psychedelic music a little bit. It seemed to be different, and I thought that
Well,
was
we
really
were we were all listening to the new music all the time, and even since '67, Hendrix was already huge. I
right.
used to go see him playing in pubs,
Wow.
and we were obviously affected by all the new music that was coming up. Pink Floyd, Spooky Tooth, The Nice, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, all this new stuff was like exciting. And we just thought we'd like to go more in that way. We can't go completely that way, but we'd like to kind of absorb some of this. And the standard phrase for doing that was going heavy. We want to
Yeah.
go heavy. And so we did. And we changed the name of the band from Love Affair to LA, which we thought sounded cool. It was
Yeah.
a bad idea, the whole thing, because we lost all our original fans, or most of them.
Yeah.
So the
They didn't. They
second
didn't.
album
Yeah.
they didn't
They
go
didn't
with
embrace.
us.
Yeah. They didn't embrace
Right?
the new music, huh?
That's right. So the second album didn't sell too well. So that was the end of the band, really.
And then you formed the Morgan Band, or was just Morgan?
Yeah, the Morgan Band, and
Yeah.
then I went totally into progressive rock
Which
and had
is
a great
interesting.
time.
Yeah, which is interesting. I thought that album was pretty. It was kind of the beginning of, and I don't remember people calling it progressive music back then. I was a big fan. I tell this story all the time. It seems like every interview, but I grew up in Los Angeles, and I worked for a gentleman from the UK that started a record store in LA called Records Ltd. And his whole model was to bring all these British pressings to America, which were totally unavailable before that. And so he even had Melody Maker magazine and New Music Express delivered by postage, which was always about a month old. So you had these groups that would form these super groups, and then by the time you got it, they'd already broken up. But I discovered so many British bands that way. And when I'm reading about your story, and especially when you formed Morgan, it reminds me a little bit of, and I don't know if you knew these gentlemen, Gentle Giant. And when you look at how they changed from Simon Dupree in the Big Sound, which was kind of a pop type group, and then they came out with his first album produced by Tony Visconti, and it was a mind blower. It was like, what is this? And to think that they made that type of change, maybe, and I've talked to them before, and they said we were kind of always wanting to go that direction, but like you, they couldn't disengage from what everybody liked. I mean, and you probably experienced it too, women chasing you guys down after a concert and well, yeah, all that Beatlemania type of stuff. But it's amazing how you've adapted through the years and you've changed your music. I thought uh, the Morgan Band was pretty good. That was good prog music. Congratulations on that. Um, I enjoyed it. I listened to a couple of the albums today, and they were very, very good. Um, but then So you joined Mott the Hoople. That was an interesting story. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, the Morgan band didn't sell too well, so finally we called it a day. But then I took a few months off. I just thought I need a break. I've been working for well, nearly 12 straight years without a break, and I kind of wanted one, so I just got a regular job and but I kept my eye on the back pages of Melody Maker where they had ads, bands looking for members. And one day I saw this ad. It didn't say the name of the band, they never do, but it said this band has an imminent tour of America. And I thought, well, I've never been to America. I should check this out. So I went to the audition, and it turned out to be Mott the Hoople, who I'd seen once before, maybe, and thought they're okay, good rock band, because I was into prog rock at that time. But I got the job, and I realized very quickly what a great band they are, what a great bunch of guys. So within weeks, I was touring the States, which was a dream come true.
And is that when you filmed your Mott in America on that 8 millimeter? I rewatched that today. I'd forgotten about that. I saw that a couple of years ago. That was very cool.
Yes. Well, I did do that. Yeah, my father had an 8 millimeter movie camera, and I just thought, wow, I'm going to America. There's going to be all these new sites that I'd like to record. So I did that, and later made a DVD of that for the first Mott the Hoople reunion in 2009. But it's been very much in my life lately because a month ago there was a Mott the Hoople convention in England, which is a pretty rare occurrence. And I wanted to go there for that, of course, and play there. But also, I've been using some software that enhances old movies, makes them look incredibly new and modern. It's a long process, but I started work on that in order to upgrade what I call Mott in America, this movie. And here it is. So this is the upgraded Mott in America. Now, it's
Oh,
not a
whoa.
DVD, as you can tell. It's
Yeah.
not a DVD, and it's not a Blu-ray. I decided to put it on a USB stick.
Is that
So
right?
Mott in America is now available on a USB stick, and it's both USB-A on that side and USB-C on that
Uh,
side. So you can watch it on your devices, and I get a lot more on there. So I've got the new upgraded, extended Martin American movie with new music and new narration, plus the old version for people who like it old and grungy, and a lot of extra information. So there's a lot on this little stick. So I'm going to be, I got it, I wanted to introduce it at the Mott convention, which I did, and a lot of people bought it. But shortly I'm going to sell it online again, as I do with the DVD at my Etsy shop. So
would
that's
you do
Mott in
me
America.
would you do me a favor and when you have that ready to go, or if you already have an address and all that, we'll put it on this video at the end, and we can advertise also your site. That'd be great.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll make
Okay,
a note for that.
terrific. Yeah. So
Sure.
I'm going a little out of order here, but what happened? So after the two albums with Mott the Hoople, Ian Hunter left, I think, for a solo career, if I've got this right. And you guys continued as Mott for a couple of years. Is that correct? I lost you again. Hold on. We're tempting fate here by trying to do this from Japan and the East Coast. So, but no problem. We can, yeah, but I can hear you.
Oh,
All
now
right.
it's back. Now it's back no, it's confusing. I'm getting messages popping up saying this, your input has changed. And it keeps going. How we should be not good now. Is that good?
Yeah, you sound great. So,
Okay, sorry about
okay.
this.
No, listen, technology is still pretty good. We're talking from, I don't know, 13 hours, 14 hours difference. So no apologies needed.
Well,
Um,
I don't really want to switch to the mic on my laptop because the sound is nowhere near as good.
Okay. It's all
So
right. I
if
can
we
hear
can
you fine.
stay on this, yeah, and on this you can, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I have to go back to the other mic, it won't be as good. So let's just go with it.
We'll muscle through it. So
Okay,
you guys went on as Mott, correct?
that's right. Yeah, we thought we'd keep part of the name, so we didn't completely throw away what we built up. And the records are really well recorded. Like for the first album, we had the Beatles engineer Jeff Emmerich mix it.
Yeah.
And I think for the second album, we had Jimi Hendrix's engineer Eddie Kramer recorded.
Right.
So the albums are really well done. The record company put a lot of money into the production, into the packaging, but somehow the promotion didn't really work. And the other problem was the punk rock was coming up at that
Mm,
time,
yeah.
and everybody was interested in punk rock.
Yeah, that was a trend that swept the world, didn't it? I
It did
remember when
rather. So,
I remember Pete Townsend was very confused by all that.
well, it did affect a lot of us. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
considered old school, and in America, we would have been. It wouldn't have happened so much. And we tried to build it up in America, but it just didn't quite take off. So two albums, we called it quits, but then we still wanted to play together. And our friend John Fiddler, who had a band called Medicine Head,
Yep.
was just winding his band down, and we thought, well, why don't we ask him? And he agreed to join us, and he's a really great songwriter and singer. So we were very happy. We found another record company. We made two more albums, but again, punk had sort of shaken everything up and didn't quite go like we wanted it to. But that's okay because new
Yeah.
things happened after that.
Yeah. You at some point, and I really love this. I didn't realize it. You built your own studio, I guess home studio,
Yeah.
but and you started a record company called Cherry Red Records, right?
No, I didn't create it. I met the guy who was creating it.
Okay.
Um, and this was where punk actually affected me in a good way because I wasn't crazy about punk rock music necessarily, but I really admired their spirit. The idea of do it yourself. We don't need a big label. We don't
Right.
need big money. We'll just make a record, sell it from the back of our car. And this kind of attitude really impressed me. And I thought, you know what? I wouldn't mind doing something like that too. I'm kind of tired of big record companies saying when they want to release your record or when they don't want to release your record and controlling your life. And it's like, I don't know if I need that anymore. So, but, I'd had that ever since Everlasting Love, my first hit, was really a record company concept. It wasn't our music. So it was time to do my music. So you could buy enough equipment to do an album in your bedroom at that time for the first time. So that's what I did. And I made some really bizarre independent albums, and I was playing everything, guitar, bass. I was singing, doing the mixing, designing the cover, everything myself. And it was so satisfying. And by chance, I met this nice guy who started Cherry Red Records, and they're still going nearly 40 years later. And he put out my stuff. So it was a kind of nice change of style for me.
Well, I counted it. It looked like you did 27 solo albums. Were some of those singles or were they full albums?
No, but a lot of those happened when I came to Japan.
Oh, okay.
With
Oh, okay.
with yeah, with Cherry Red, I made four albums, but each one
Okay.
was very quite interesting and groundbreaking, including one called Miniatures, which was
I
all
was
1 minute pieces.
I love that.
Yeah.
I had never heard that. And you lead off with Ale Hassel,
Uh,
and I was a big fan of his with Pato and Tempest. I actually
and the
saw him.
Ruttles.
Yeah, love that man. A friend of mine actually owns his SG, that white SG that he used to play.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, he's got a nice collection. That was an interesting album. You had everybody from him to Martin Chambers from The Pretenders to I'm trying to remember who else was on that, but they were quirky little 1 minute
Well,
bits.
the idea was that once I'd already made a couple of albums for Cherry Red, and they said to me, we love what you do, and whatever you record, we were going to put it out and support you. And it was almost like being given carte blanche, which I'd never had before, to do anything I want. So I sat down and I started to write a list of people I would like to collaborate with on my next project. But the list got longer and longer and longer until there were about 50 names on there. And I thought, well, how do I decide? And then I got into a bit of lateral thinking and said to myself, you don't have to decide. You can have them all on the album. How do I do that? Can't get them all in the studio together. No, you give them a minute each, because 50 people, 50 minutes. That's about as much as you can get on one LP. So that's what I did, and I sent out invitations. Everybody loved the idea. I had no money whatsoever, but they all piled in and sent me 1 minute pieces. And yeah, quite a range. I had David Vanian of The Damned, Robert Fripp from King Crimson, Penguin Cafe Orchestra, and one guy on there had to be on there, and he closed the album, and it was Pete Seeger. Now
Really?
I didn't contact Pete Seeger, but I'd heard an album he made in 1956 called The Goofing Off Suite,
Yeah.
where he played major classical pieces on the banjo, like Beethoven's Ninth on the banjo. So he was sort of miniaturizing music, and I thought that's very appropriate. So the album closes with his banjo version of Beethoven's Ninth.
Man, I don't know anybody that's done that. That was really one of the most. I got halfway through it, and I've never seen anything like that. That's an
It's
amazing
it still
piece.
sounds fresh. I think it's just so much
It
variety,
does.
and it's a bit of a groundbreaker that people have done similar projects since then.
Yeah.
People are impressed by the just the newness of it, and it's still available for sale 40 years later, 45 years later.
And
It's
on
a
YouTube.
keeper.
And on YouTube.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, everything's on YouTube, right?
Uh,
Um, well, that's great. And then you joined Queen.
well, I didn't join them exactly, but I knew Queen from the very beginning.
Right,
In fact, from before the beginning, because my Morgan band, the singer that joined us had just left a band called Smile.
right.
And in this band, Smile, was Roger Taylor and Brian May. So they weren't Queen yet, but I already knew them. And Brian used to come down to the Marquee Club to see Morgan Band play very often. And then he formed this new band. And I didn't get to know them, funnily enough, until I joined Mott. And when I joined Mott, the first English tour we did, the opening act was Queen. So that would be like 3 years after I'd first met them. And they did 20 shows with us in England and 20 shows in America. And then they zoomed like a rocket and never supported anybody else again. So we're the only band that they opened for. So I knew them then. So this would be 74. And then in 82, they started using keyboards on their album, which they'd always avoided before, except for piano. They
Right.
started using synthesizers because Freddie was hanging out with Michael Jackson and wanted more black sounding music, like
Yeah.
another one, Bites the Dust. I think great
Yeah.
songs, but they had to have someone to play the keyboards on the tour. So they obviously shopped around a bit and they asked me to become their on live, on stage keyboard man. So I did one tour of them with them in Europe. It was okay, but it felt very different from Mott the Hoople.
Yeah.
It's almost like everything had to be perfect, and that's great. They're very, very professional, but it was almost like Queen are more like a Broadway show. There has to be 100% every night, and no room for like improvising or jamming and that sort of thing. Whereas Mott the Hoople was much looser, more like the Stones.
And
And
what I really,
so,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I realized after one tour they didn't quite fit me, so that was all I did with them.
See, I've watched some live things that you did, like Don Kirshner,
Mm,
and you could say what you want about Don Kirshner, but everybody really played There was no lip
Yeah,
syncing. And some of those performances, they're raw, but raw in a good way. They're just, it's
absolutely.
like, yeah, it was like seeing somebody in concert, a real concert, not something that was staged on TV. Some of those
Yeah,
are really good shows.
Don Cushion Rock Show and the Midnight Special was another good program where we played
Yep.
live. And I like seeing them because I think it's only recently some of those videos have been shared on YouTube, and I like the quality of them. And also one thing I like with the Midnight Special shows, I like their cameraman because he actually showed the keyboard guys, whereas most programs would just focus on the three front guys, guitar,
Yeah.
bass, vocals, and you never see the keyboard players who are always on the side. Midnight Special, it actually starts with me, I think, on two songs, right, focusing on me. And I thought, this cameraman has good sense, you know.
And you were playing piano, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's
On
right.
that.
I was playing
Now those.
piano, and another guy, Mick, was playing the organ.
Oh, okay. Who was that? Mick who?
Mick Bolton.
Mick Bolton. Okay. I said to myself, I don't remember there being two keyboard players in Mott. So was he a member of
Well,
the band or was he?
no, he was also hired for the tour, as I
Yeah.
was initially. And when you think about it, Mott was always a two keyboard band like Spooky Tooth were and Procol Harum, all on the same label, all
Right.
produced by the same guy, Guy Stevens. So interesting, they
Interesting.
all piano and organ because Ian Hunter in the beginning, Ian Hunter was a piano player in the band, and he was on the side playing piano. And then they had an organ player as well on the other side, Verdon Allen. So it was always a two keyboard band. But when they got together with David Bowie, Bowie said to Ian Hunter, "You should be out front and center. You should be the front man. Probably better if you play guitar so you can be in center and you can move around." And so Ian did exactly that. And so when they hired me, they also needed a second keyboard player to maintain that piano plus organ sound. So actually, they'd always done that.
Now, but you were pounding those keys like Little Richard on one of the songs. You got to go online to all those Don Kirshner and Midnight whatever it was Midnight. I was going to say
Special.
Midnight Out Special. Those are all
Oh
online,
yeah,
and there is one with Ian playing a white Firebird, I think, playing
yeah.
guitar. And I'm going, I don't remember that either, but you know, it was the '70s. What can I say? The
But he had a couple of good guitars. He had a custom made H guitar, so the body was a big white H.
Yeah,
Apparently, it weighed a ton, was difficult to play, but it looked great.
yeah.
And then he had another guitar, which is a white Maltese cross. So he was very into interesting guitars, and he looked great. He had the image down. I mean, what can you say? The hair, the glasses,
Oh my God.
perfect front man.
And Pete
And
was
Bowie knew
wearing
that.
and Pete was wearing the high-heeled white boots.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the big
very high.
heels. Yeah. Was he a short guy?
No, he's average, but with those
Okay.
on, he was huge.
Yeah.
And if he fell over, if he ever fell over on stage, it took two roadies to pick him up.
That's hilarious. I mean, that just like it's frozen in time for that time period, isn't it? That's just
But
so.
I believe some of the more outrageous things we wore did affect people like Kiss and the New York Dolls, because I've seen photos of them pretty similar clothes after we'd done it. You know,
You were a stylish guy too. You had the piano. I don't know, was that a scarf or
no,
lapels or?
it was a lapels, and I stole the idea from Liberace. Oh yeah, he did it first, but I got rid of the sequins. But I like the
Yeah,
idea of the keyboard. Yeah,
but
it's a good
you never
image.
had a candelabra on top of your keyboard, right? Like Liberace. Oh, he had the
What did you just say
candelabra.
about Liberace?
Yeah, he had the candelabra on top of the piano, and I'm wondering if you ever had anything like that.
Oh yeah, I had the champagne bucket,
Oh yeah,
proper champagne bucket with a bottle of champagne. Oh sure.
as a as a prop, or you really were tipping.
Oh, come on. I was drinking, of course, drinking throughout the show. The problem with champagne is it has bubbles in it. And when you go to do back vocals, you sometimes find yourself burping. So, so finally I got rid of the champagne and drank white wine instead.
Well, the
But I
reason I
kept the
ask is,
bucket.
yeah, the reason I asked, a lot of posers used to have the bottle of fake Jack Daniels on stage and would, swig it while it was just colored water, wasn't actually alcohol, but, oh, that's
Really?
hilarious. Yeah.
Ooh, that's not good.
I'm trying to remember who. It might have been Van Halen. I don't know. I can't remember, but I remember reading that story. Um,
There's nothing fake about Mott.
no, no, you guys were hard charging. In that time period, especially when you were touring the States, it must just have been a bit of a culture shock to you to see how things were in Hollywood, and that's why I love that 8 millimeter video, or that 8 millimeter film that you took, because it really captured. It's going to be interesting to see the new version, because I think the grainy capture of that 8 millimeter just kind of took me right back to those years. It's amazing how
I
music
understand.
and go ahead.
Yeah, I understand it doing that in a nostalgic way. What I like about the new version is it's very, very clear. And also I could do a lot of editing things. Like I'd freeze a shot for a while, like
Uh,
a really good shot of someone's face, and you weren't sure who it was. I could freeze that, or I could do a little slow motion, or even repeat a short scene. So I did a lot more creative editing, so you really get to see who was there and what we were doing. So I think, but I put the old one on here as well. So you get both versions.
Great. So you mentioned Spooky Tooth, which was
Yeah,
one of my favorite bands, and I still think "I Am the Walrus" by Spooky Tooth is one of the greatest songs, and Luther Grosvenor just kills it. His style is so different than
yeah,
anybody else I've heard play, and that song still feels fresh as yesterday. I think I even read that John Lennon loved that version.
yeah.
If I'm
Great.
not mistaken, yeah, it's a great song. That was a really good group. Oh man,
Oh yeah. I
yeah,
was so excited when he joined Mott because I was a huge fan of Spooky Tooth, much more than Mott actually in the
yeah.
beginning. Yeah. Singer was Mike Harrison.
Mike Harrison, I get him mixed up. Great
Yeah.
voice, just a great
Amazing.
voice.
Well,
Yeah.
I played on Mike Harrison's second solo album
Oh, did you?
while I was still in Mott. Yeah, we had some time off, and Luther said to me, "Oh, my mate Mike is making an album. Do you want to play on it?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Where are they doing it?" He said, "Nashville." I said, "Great, I'll be there." So I went to Nashville,
Wow.
and there was a really good studio, of course, and the two other guys in the band were like legends because we had Norbert Putnam on bass and Kenny Buttry on drums, both of
Wow.
whom had played with Elvis, Dylan, Neil Young. They were like the top session guys in
Yeah.
Nashville. So I
Yeah.
got to play with them as well as Mike Harrison. It was a fantastic album. I really recommend it. It's called Rainbow Rider.
Oh,
It's all
I'll definitely dig that up.
Well, the whole thing's on YouTube if you don't
Yeah.
want to buy it yet. But I think once you hear it, you might want to go and buy the vinyl.
You know what? I'm going to show you something here. I still buy CDs, and I'm not a fan of, I'm heavy into Gentle Giant, obviously, but
Yep.
when it comes to artists getting compensated, I am totally anti Spotify. And I always ask, I've bought a couple of Mark Knopfler's brothers album, David, and I
Yep.
always ask him, because he's still making great music. I ask him, how do you get paid the most? He said, from a CD.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I'd much rather have the artist supported like that. Spotify, it's like Satan to me, and I just
Yeah.
hate
I
it.
mean, for people who do want downloads, Bandcamp is good because the artist can name the price and he'll get like 90% of the profit. So
Right.
Bandcamp and ones like that, I'm for those. Right, where you can buy downloads and CDs and vinyl if the artist makes it available on Bandcamp. So that's another thing where you don't even need a record company.
Well, I finally, it'd been years since I had a, CD player on my computer, and I finally went out about 3 months ago, and for the whopping amount of $29, I got something
Yeah.
that, yeah, 29 for an LG. I'm going, okay, that's a bargain. And I've been able to go back and listen to all my old CDs, and I just love it. Um,
Well,
oh,
I have a DVD Blu-ray player which plays CDs, so it does all
yeah,
three. And if there's a video along with the CD, so to me that's the best bet. You don't have to necessarily buy a separate CD player. In fact, your DVD player may play CDs too.
it does, and it burns them, and it plays Blu-ray. And I'm looking at your collection back there, and of course you've got a CD player. There's no doubt about it. Um, this part of your career, though, really fascinates me. We're talking. You're in Japan right now. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, I love the story. I think I watched an interview with you a ways back where you just described that you just decided. I know you lived in a couple of areas aside from the UK, but and I think you went to India for a while, maybe. But at some point, you just said, "I'm moving to Japan," and you just dropped everything and moved to Japan, which I find that fascinating.
Yeah,
And I think I saw the quote, you had nothing. You didn't know the language. You didn't have any instruments, I guess. You just dropped everything and moved there. Tell me about that because it created a whole brand new
yeah.
career for you, did it not?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, it started once I'd done my independence period in London with Cherry Red Records, and I worked really, really hard. And miniatures was like a 1 year project, which I did
Yeah,
myself, and that it was very intense for like 3 years, all do it yourself. And I basically needed a long break, and I just decided to take what you might call a gap year. You know what
yeah,
kids when they leave high school they say, I'm not going straight to university, I want a gap year because I want to see life, you
that's what
know.
I did. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, exactly. Well, mine turned into a gap 3 years. I decided to see the world on my own at my pace rather than rushing around in a group tour bus. And I wanted to go to India because I was interested in meditating. So I spent 4 months there, which were wonderful. But I knew this is not a place to live. But I did learn that I don't really want to live in England anymore. The politics wasn't going well. The economy was terrible. I needed to find another home. And I tried Belgium for a year just by chance through a friend. That was lovely. I spoke French for a year, had some great beer. And then I moved to America and moved around various places. And I love America, but I didn't quite feel at home yet. And I started to look at a map. And when I opened the page for Japan, it just called to me incredibly powerfully. I don't know why. Obviously, it did because it turned out perfect. And I said to my girlfriend, I had a girlfriend at the time, but what do you think? She said, yeah, let's go. So the two of us came here within a week. Like you say, no job, no money, no friends, no house, no language. Started from zero, and it was the best place in the world to do that. It was so friendly, so safe, and so interesting
And how
that I
long have you been
decided this
there
is
now?
my new
How long
home.
have you now? How long have you been there?
40 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's home for you. Yeah. I love that
Yeah, I think
story.
so.
And I had no idea you had this whole, I don't know if it's a career, it sounds like a career, but tell me a little bit about the photography. That that's why
Ah.
I look at you and I really see I wouldn't be surprised if you brew your own beer because you really do appear to be a Renaissance man. You've done a lot of things. You've had a
I
very
haven't
full
done
life.
I haven't done the beer yet. I'd probably prefer to do wine. But anyway, um, I don't know. It's very interesting. A lot of people do that when they come here from abroad because it is a visually fascinating country. So of course you want to start taking photos of temples and things like that, of kimonos, of all the things that are only here. And after a while, I had a job and I could afford my first very good camera, and I started taking photos of those things too. But then I moved on from that into, I don't know how you could say, well, I wanted to go deeper and deeper into it, and I did it literally by going closer and closer, like macro photos of flowers and insects, or just rust on a wall. Just interesting things that grabbed my attention. It was very sort of peaceful activity, and you become very alert at looking at what's around you, what's interesting. I'll shoot that, and eventually I almost made a career of it because I got a photo agency who loved my work and they started to hire it out for catalogs or whatever. So I made some income from that, and that encouraged me to keep going. And also an interesting thing happened in 1991, because when you're a foreigner here long term, you get interesting invitations. And I was invited to be a fashion model. That was when I was slim, I must add. And it was a very big event with two major fashion companies, Yohji Yamamoto and Comme des Garçons, who are both worldwide famous, decided to do a big joint fashion show with no models. Instead of models, they had musicians and movie stars. So I was in this very interesting lineup of people pretending to be a model, if you like. And there were two teams, and I was on the Comme des Garçons team. And in my team, we had Charles Lloyd, the famous sax player. We had
Wow.
Dennis Hopper, the movie star,
Really?
was on my team. And I got chatting with him, and he showed me, he said, "Oh, I've just published a photo book." I said, "Really? I didn't know you took photos." He said, "Oh, yeah, especially in Japan." And he showed me his photo book, and it was almost exactly what I've been doing. It was like peeling paint and rust on walls and
Yeah.
old posters and things. And he had a very similar eye for things that were sort of decaying in an interesting way. So I don't consider myself unique with that, but it was nice to see that he'd done something similar.
Very cool. Yeah, yeah. I was trying to understand the concept of was it light art or art light or,
Ah,
yeah,
that's something else, yeah, that I got onto later. I went to Hawaii for Christmas one year, and as you may know, in Hawaii, they decorate the outside of the houses, not the inside at
right.
Christmas, which I found fascinating. So I decided to take photos of it. But this is at nighttime, and at nighttime you have to have a long exposure.
Mhm.
And I did it handheld. And when I saw the prints the next day, that's how long ago it was, not digital. And I saw the prints and I thought, oh no, they're all blurred because I didn't hold it steady enough. But then I looked at them again and I thought, actually, they look interesting. They look more like abstract paintings. So why don't I shake the camera more and see what I get? So from the next day on, I decided to do that, finding any interesting illuminations and kind of moving the camera in different ways with the shutter open for 1, 2, 3 seconds. And I found a new art form, which I still love doing now, some 30 years later.
What's next for you? I mean, what's the next big thing?
I don't know, but things like that sort of happen by accident. That was
And
an
they keep,
accident that turned into an art form.
and you know what? That still keeps you young of heart, things like that.
Oh
My
yeah,
wife, yeah, my wife always says, "Why are you still doing this?" It's not for them. There's no money in what we're doing. We make enough
there
to
is.
pay the server bills, but it keeps me young. I'd rather do that than watch TV all day, you know?
Yeah.
Um, the Now you've been able
Oh
to do
yeah.
some, yeah, you've been able to do some reunions with Mott the Hoople, is that correct?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we did a tour in 2019. We did a US tour and an English tour. Fairly short tours, about 10 gigs for each tour.
Yeah.
And so we hadn't done that. I mean, we hadn't played together in nearly 40 years. So it was exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking. I thought, can we do this? Can we pull it off? And the interesting thing is, I had about 4 or 5 months to get ready for it, and I thought, well, I better start rehearsing soon to remember those old songs, you know. And
Yeah.
I put my hands on the piano and I started playing, and you know what? My hands knew where to go. It's what you call muscle memory.
Yes.
And so there was amazing little work needed for me to recall all those songs. You know, it's about 20 songs, and they all came back, you know. So it's like wonderful how things stay with you, you know, things that mean a lot to you
Yeah.
really stay with you. So we
I
did this
was
tour. It was, yes, go ahead.
No, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's a lag here,
Well,
so
we it was only the three of us from Mott, so me, Ian Hunter, and Luther,
right.
and the rest of the band were from Ian Hunter's Rant band. Now his own band had been playing with him for maybe 15 years, so that's like
Right.
3 times longer than Mott. So they know him very, very well. So they were the perfect guys to fill out the rest of the sound. And in fact, we had a bigger sound than Mott because we had an extra guitar, we had a saxophone, which
Nice.
is on some of Mott's records, but we never had one. We never had one live. So we thought we can do this even better than we used to, and it turned out we did because we reviews our career. Variety magazine said something like, "At last, 70s rock has been properly revived." Nice to read that, you
Sure.
know. So
Very nice.
it was this very big success, that tour. Very
I always
enjoyable.
I always did like the horns on some of the songs by Mott. I love the
Yeah,
backing horns. Yeah, they were unique for a rock band, your type of rock band. Not for, you
right.
know, you'd hear them with Joe Cocker, you'd hear them with other groups, but it was different hearing it with Mott. It was a nice dimension to it. You still stay close to, I imagine Ian was at Mott Fest. Is that correct?
No, it wasn't actually.
No, no kidding.
Well, two reasons. One, he's getting on. You know, he's 86 now,
Right.
but he's still in very good health. But the problem was actually at the end of that reunion tour we did, he suddenly got very bad tinnitus or tinnitus, which
Yeah.
is terrible for a musician because basically now he cannot stand loud music. It's agony for him. So
Yeah.
we had to stop touring. So he hasn't done any concerts since then,
Oh, I'm sorry
which
to
I'm
hear
sure
that.
he's I'm sorry to hear it, but he's made two incredible albums.
Yeah.
Have you heard them? They're
Yes,
called
I have.
Defiance Part One and Two, with a galaxy of superstar guests on there. Ringo Starr, Jeff Beck, Johnny Depp, you know, Todd Rundgren. So he's able to make albums because he can kind of do it quietly at home and
Right.
let his producer do the overdubs and mixing. So he's able to make music, and in fact, he's working on part three of that series right now. So he's creating music and just not able to travel so much and not able to really enjoy loud music anymore. So instead of coming to Mockfest, he made a really nice video
Oh, nice.
message for us, which was really nice. So it worked out. His presence was there.
Yeah, he's a unique person. Yeah, I love Ian Hunter.
I think he's
Um,
our Bob Dylan, you know, he's Brit Bob Dylan. Who
I
else is
wouldn't
there?
argue. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. That's a nice description. He paints. You know, the thing
Well,
about him, the lyric.
he's a very yeah.
I was just going to say the lyrics paint. There, you know, some rock songs don't do much. The lyrics are a fill. Other ones take you somewhere. And this, when I listen to Mott the Hoople, it instantly transports me to the early '70s, where I was seeing live music a couple times a week. I was a whiskey rat. I'd be at the whiskey during school nights with my mom protesting, "You're not going," and I said, "I'm going." But it's just the
Yeah.
beauty of LA was an industry town, and the industry happened to be entertainment. So, you grew up knowing that if you saw a star out in public at the store, you weren't an ass. You
Right,
respected their privacy, and they were just another person in LA.
right.
But yeah, those early '70s. There was such great music, and I'm not being that kind of old nostalgia guy, but I go back and I listen to that and I go, geez, there's just nothing like it. It's so programmable now. It takes the
Right.
soul out of it.
Well,
Yeah,
his lyrics are also very topical. I mean, he's commenting on current politics now, and good for him, you know. So
yeah,
in a way,
rich,
that's not far from Dylan. Plus the longevity of it. He's been doing it for nearly 60 years. I mean,
amazing.
like Dylan, he's actually older than Dylan. So, you know,
Is
I don't
that
know why
right?
he's not
Yeah, I
more.
guess that is
Yeah,
right. Yeah, he's
slightly.
86.
Yeah. He's older
Wow.
than Dylan, the Stones, the Beatles. He's up there. He's a leader. I said you'll be the first centenarian rocker. Could
He might
be.
make it. Other than
Yeah.
tinnitus, or I think that's how you say it. Is he in pretty good health otherwise?
Very good. He always has been. He
Yeah.
walks. I mean, I think he probably still does. He always did a 5 mile walk every morning.
Wow.
And back in the day, I mean, you can see on my DVD, he's swimming all the time.
Yeah.
Every time we check into a hotel, he'd go to the pool. We would go to the bar.
Yeah.
So, you know, it paid
Shame on
off
you.
in the end. Yeah.
So you're still you
I'm good.
still
I'm fit. I'm fit.
yeah, you look pretty good. You were a model, for God's sakes. You were walking the runway. Do you so you stay in touch with them? You guys are still good friends, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
not very often, but we keep each other in touch with what's going on.
You shared so much, yeah. Um you now
Mm.
Luther has done a couple solo albums recently, has he not?
Yes, that's
And
right. I played on
it,
them 4 or 5 songs. It's very nice. It's more acoustic sounding. It's very nice songs.
interesting. You
Yeah.
know, now this all this this is very weird. I'm very good friends with Tom Guerra, and it was amazing for
Yes.
me to see that you played on his albums. He's one
Mm.
of my favorite musicians because, and I tell him this all the time. I just interviewed him about a week and a half ago, but I tell him this
Oh,
all the time. When he plays his solos, he never loses the melody. He writes really nice lyrics, and I've always been a fan of musicians, guitar players that know when to stop. It's the solo shouldn't be the entire enchilada, so to speak. It's just a piece of it. And when you fit it in and you don't lose that melody, you're not speed typing. That's my kind of guitar player. And I love that about him. And
very much like Mick Ralph's. Mick
yes,
Ralph's was very much the same. Bad Company and all that.
never lost
Tasteful.
the tune, the melody. So
Right.
how did you meet Tom? I mean, that's just, you know, that's weird.
You know, it's been a long time now, so I can't remember. Obviously, we were on Facebook. I think he may have showed up on a Mott reunion at some point. That's probably where we met. Not the
Okay.
one that we did 6 years ago, but earlier. They did the first one in 2009. It might have been
Right.
there. Sorry, Tom. Can't quite remember. But yeah, we hit it off straight away. And he said, "Can you play on my album?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." So now I've played on 3 or 4 of his albums, I think.
Yeah, I did. He just posted Frankenstein boots, I think, is for
Yeah,
Halloween, and
right.
there's your piano pounding away.
Well, I did something really, especially for the intro, I think I did something really bizarre. Because
Yeah,
when I think of Halloween, I think Frankenstein, horror movie, you know, let's
yeah.
have some fun. And at first he said, "It's too much. Can you do a straighter version?" I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do a straight version." So I did that as well. And then he got back to me and said, "You know what? All my friends like your crazy version. So we'll keep that one." So thank you. That's what you get
Well,
when you ask me to play on your album, you know.
yeah,
Watch out.
even the video, he's got the parts from the Munster show, and I
Yeah.
and I and I told him when I was younger I'd go on the Universal Studios tour, and the big stop was always that house, and the stairs
Yeah,
would open up. Of course, Herman Munster didn't come walking out, but they'd always
yeah,
open up the stairs with the cobwebs, and that was a big draw. So again,
and,
that kind of stuff takes you back to really pleasant memories. I
yeah,
love that about music. I love that about good lyrics. Personally, I've become more of a big fan of songwriters as opposed to just instrumentalists. I
right,
love somebody that can construct a song, knows how
yeah.
to do it. That's not easy. It is not easy stuff. And anyway, that's what I like about Tom. Just in closing, Mont Fest, was that really a lot of fun for you? Have you done them before, or is this the first one?
That's the first one, and it hasn't really happened before. There were a couple of conventions that I didn't make it to, but this one was partly done because the small town where Overend Watson and Dale Griffin were born, who now they're not with us, but the town
Right.
decided to honor them with what we call in England a blue plaque. They do a blue circular plaque saying so and so lived here from this
Oh,
year to this
nice.
year. And this is a major, award to get. It's official. The city decides it, and they've done it
Yeah.
for all kinds of famous people. And when we heard they were going to do that for us, we thought, well, this is a real big honor. Maybe we should play a concert or something on the same day. And then eventually just expanded mainly through one of our super fans who just took the project on. And
Yeah.
he made it into a weekend event, which was beautiful. And we had about 250 people came from the States, from Europe, from Russia, all kinds of places to be there and see this blue plaque, and also for us to hang out and play music and show videos and just had a great time.
It's so nice to see older musicians. Um, and I've met some, I've met some that were arrogant in their youth. They didn't, but when you get to a certain age, you mellow and you appreciate that people still want to see you, still want to buy your music, and it must be very
Yeah.
cool to go to something like that and see how you've affected people through the years.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. It's almost like family. The people
yeah,
we've known for decades, 40, 50 years we've known them. Yeah, it's definitely heartwarming. And Mott the Hoople was always a people's band, as they
yeah,
say.
no doubt.
Like if a young fan saw the band, coming into the gig and they say, I wish I could come in, but I don't have any money. And they said, don't worry, you can be our roadie for the night. Come on in. That sort of thing they did. And one of
Yeah,
those fans was Mick Jones of The
really,
Clash.
no
And
kidding.
he started following Mott when he was 14. And he was one of
Wow,
those fans who would say, I can't come in. I'm too young. I don't have any money. They'd say, don't worry, we'll get you in. So
wow.
he Mott inspired Mick Jones to form the Clash, who were
Did
also
he
a people's band.
did he tell you that once they became popular?
Oh yeah, oh
You
yeah.
didn't
I
know.
mean,
I
he
mean,
talks
yeah.
about it. He talks about it
Wow.
on various DVDs and interviews. He's very happy to talk about it. How we inspired him. Well, I say we. I wasn't there at the beginning, but I'm proud that the band had that attitude and always did.
Listen, people will always associate you with Mott, whether you were there in the early days. It doesn't matter. You're a part of that family. And
Sure.
it reminds me, I mentioned Gentle Giant, the guitar player, Gary Green, uh, moved to the States, and he's lived in a small suburb of Illinois now for 45 years. And they did something similar. He's now an honorary, he's got his own sidewalk, kind of like the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh,
The whole
yeah.
ceremony's on video online, and he told me the same thing. In fact, he says most of the people in that town don't know his previous, history. He's just
Mm.
Gary Green, and told me the same reason that I moved to North Carolina. I had enough of LA, the smog, the traffic, all that. And I felt a rebirth coming here. I met my wife here, And there's something to be said about just kind of small townish, not really different from what you found your home where you probably want to stay the rest of your life in Japan. I just think that's so cool. I don't know. It's just I understand that concept quite a bit.
But it's not a
Um,
small town. It's not a small town by any means, Tokyo. But on the other hand,
but
where I live feels like a village. It's a quiet part of Tokyo, you know?
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Yeah, you're in Japan. I still haven't been there. It's one of my destinations that I'm dying to go to. Um, I have a friend that's a country music guitar player, and he played with Merle Haggard for years. And he just did a tour of Japan, and he sent back pictures. And we were talking about Americana. It's as popular there. They've got bars that just look like they're right out of Nashville,
Oh,
you know, and the
I have seen
fans.
them. I've been to one.
Yeah, so
I've been
I
to
love
one.
it.
They do that. Well, I forgot what they call it, line dancing or something, where they're all
Yeah,
dancing,
yeah.
and they're all dressed as cowboys. They're all got their hats on and everything.
But they have a
Fantastic.
support. But they have a Sapporo beer there instead of a Schlitz or Coors or
Probably.
anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Uh, Listen, I've really enjoyed this, and I'm going to put this up as quickly as I can do. We have a little bit of post production we got to do on this one with all the glitches. But you know what? You've been extremely generous with your time. I'm glad we could finally pull this off. And please stay in touch. And if you'll send me the information about how to get the version 2 of Mott in America, I would love to help you promote that. So
Oh,
if you can
thank
get
you.
it to me anytime soon, I'll put it up on this video.
I'll do that. Absolutely. There it is, folks.
Love it.
It says I had to make a joke out of it, so I put on there, give it some stick. It's the
You
way
know what?
forward.
Yeah,
Sticks.
you're a real gentleman, and like I said, you've been very generous, and I'd like to call you a friend now. Um, please stay in touch, would you? And maybe we can talk again in
Of
the
course.
future.
There's so much more to talk about. You bet.
There, this is really. I was going to make a joke and say this is really part one. I barely scratched the
Good.
surface. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got a
Anytime.
long history. Thank you very much for your time. I know my audience is really going to like this.